Okay, thank you, Hashem, that we're able to learn. And this chus of our learning, we should have the base of Migdash immediately. And Refuah Shlema for Chil Nasim ben Sarah, Aaron David Alevi ben Menucha Lester, and Sarah Basara. Ready, Dalet Ahmed Beis. We're like in middle of the wide lines. In my Gemara, there's like an end parentheses with a star next to it. Amar Abasi. The line starts Machvarta. It's about 6 lines down from the wide lines. Amar Abasi, Amar Rabbi Yechanan, Lach Rabbi Yehuda. Rabasi says, in the name of Rabbi Yechanan. Rabasi is a student of Rabbi Yechanan. He says that Allah is like Rabbi Yehuda. Now, Rabbi Yehuda said that the chazan for Shachris the chazan for Musaf and Shmini Atzeres is going to say Mashiv Ruach, and then the chazan for Shachris on Pesach is going to say it, but not the chazan for Musaf. So, okay, on the first day of Pesach. So Rabbi Yechanan paskins like that, like Rabbi Yehuda. Amalei Reb Zeira l'Rabasi. Reb Zeira was from Bavel. He comes to Eretz Yisrael. He studies there with Rabbi Yechanan students. He says to Rabasi, Mi amar Rabbi Yechanan hachi. Is that what Rabbi Yechanan said? But we have a Mishnah. It says, B'shleishim b'mar cheshvan sheila nesagashamim. Gimel cheshvan, third day of cheshvan, you ask for rain. Now, just to point out that Rabbi Yehuda was talking about mentioning rain, Mashiv Ruach. Asking for rain is in the 9th blessing. Mentioning rain is in the 2nd blessing. But it says over here, we're doing this comparison now. On the 3rd of Cheshvan, you ask for rain. That's the Tanakama. Rabbi Gamliel says it's on the 7th of Cheshvan that you ask for rain. We're familiar with this because today in Israel, they ask for rain on the 7th of Cheshvan. We'll see. And Rabbi Lazar says, Halachik Rabbi Gamliel. So what are you telling me that you mention rain? You mention rain on Shmini Atzeres. It's really Shmini Atzeres is probably the 22nd of Tishrei, right? It's really you have another 8 days plus another 7. You have 15 days later. It's 7th of Cheshvan that you're supposed to do it according to Rabbi Gamliel, which is the way Rabbi Lazar paskins. Now, Rabbi Lazar is a student of Rabbi Yechanan. He's actually a chavrusa of Rabbi Yechanan for a little bit. After Rish Lakish dies, he becomes the chavrusa of Rabbi Yechanan. So, and Rabbi Lazar says that Allah is like Rabbi Gamliel. So we have a question. Rabbi Yechanan says that Allah is like Rabbi Yehuda, and it's a contradiction because Rabbi Lazar says that Allah is like Rabbi Gamliel. So Rabasi responds. He says, "Amalei Gavra Karamis." You're asking a question because of what Rabbi Lazar says and what Rabbi Yechanan says. This is 2 different people. Just because they learn together doesn't mean they have the same opinion. It's one teretz. Iba Yasema, yeah. They joke. They say, "How come Vayishlach? How come there's a big vav in Vayishlach?" So it says that it's not a big vav. It's a regular vav. This is that's one teretz. No, that's right. No, so the question wasn't even a question. That's like the way it starts. Okay. Iba Yasema like kasha. There's another teretz. Kan lishel kan lahasker. Rabbi Elazar was talking about asking for rain, and he was passing like Rabbi Gamliel that you ask for rain on the 7th of Cheshvan. And Rabbi Yochanan was passing like Rabbi Yehuda that says you mention rain on Shmini Atzeres. The only thing is that V'amar Rabbi Yochanan b'makam sheshoyel mazker. That could have been a good answer. But Rabbi Yechanan says that the mentioning of the rain and asking for rain starts together. The Gemara says actually it doesn't say that it starts together. It says Hahulaf Sakitma, that it stops together. On Erev Pesach, it's over. Mentioning and asking stops together. Aha. So it only stops together, but we can still have an answer that there's a difference in time when it starts. There's Rabbi Yehuda's mentioning of the rain, it starts Shmini Atzeres, and the asking for rain is on the 7th of Cheshvan. Rabbi Gamliel's as Rebbe Lazar Paskin. I Vam Rabbi Yechanan Hiska Lahasker Maskal Lishol, Pasuk Milashol, Pasuk Milahasker. It's not so. Rabbi Yechanan says that it actually works exactly together. When you start to mention, you start to ask. When you stop mentioning, you stop asking. When you stop asking, you stop mentioning. So what would that mean? When do you start? When do you start to mention? It would have to be Gimel. It would have to be Zayin Cheshvan to mention and to ask. Otherwise, I would have a problem of. I can mention it on Shmini Atzeres, but I can't ask on Shmini Atzeres because it's a different day. Because it's there's no blessing there. There's no blessing on Shmini Atzeres of asking. There's no Baruch Aleinu. It has to start together. The Gemara says, and now this becomes a complication. How could he paskin even like Rabbi Yehuda? The Gemara says, El like kasha. Halon, halahu. It's a famous statement in the Babylonian Talmud. It says, that's for us and that's for them. This is for us and this is for them. That means that for us, we have to wait till Zayin Cheshvan. And in Eretz Yisrael, they can already start to mention in Shmini Atzeres. Now, what's the pshat? It has to do with in Israel, all the grain has already finished growing, and they've already taken it into the house by Sukkot time. So there's really nothing left in the fields. But in Babylonia, in Mesopotamia, they were still harvesting the grain. So therefore, they don't ask for rain until that's over, which is a little bit later, which is Zayin Cheshvan. So it has to do with the growth of the grain. The Gemara says, "Maishna ledidan dislan peri bedabra." Why are you making a difference? Just because we still have fruits in the field. Dabra literally is a desert, I think. But I mean, there's fruits in the field. Lididhu. For Eretz Yisrael also, Nam Yisloy Regalim. They have the people that are coming to visit the temple, and they have to leave. And so, yeah, it's a big deal when it rains and you're harvesting the grain. That's a big problem. The grain is supposed to dry out afterwards, and you don't want it to get wet. You want to be able to take it into the house before the rain starts. Not into the house, into the silo, or whatever. But there's also the travelers, and that's also significant. People aren't going to travel if they're going to get wet. And we got drenched last year. We're not going back. So why should we ask for rain when the travelers, people that went to the temple, are still on their way back? I think it takes 15 days also to get to the furthest place, right? Is that correct?
No, it was something yesterday also. The first thing you asked me.
First to mention. First we mention that builds a vessel, and then afterwards you ask. So the Gemara says, Ki kam Rabbi Yechanan b'zman she'ein beis hamikdash kayim. It must be that when did Rabbi Yechanan say that in Eretz Yisrael they ask for rain, they mention rain and ask for rain on Shmini Atzeres? Yeah. When is that? That's during the time of the base. That's when the Beis Hamikdash is not existing. During the time of the Beis Hamikdash, they would have to wait because there's still travelers. There's no Beis Hamikdash. There's no travelers. That's why they can do it then. Gemara says, well, hashtadas lahachi. If that's the answer that you're giving, then havahaladitu. Then everything could be Eretz Yisrael. Why? It depends. During the time of the Beis Hamikdash, then they waited for Zayin Cheshvan. After the Beis Hamikdash, then they can do it right away after Sukkot. Yeah, it sounds like a good teretz.
Is that how we pass it
No,
now? Then?
it's not how we pass it.
So
It sounds like a good teretz.
Moshe Baruch or Morid Gashem at the same time we do? Or
They say Masha Baruch and Hashem the same time, but they ask for rain a little bit earlier than us.
Oh, and the
Yeah.
special bracha.
Yeah, they're already asking. Is that correct? My parents are.
7th of Heshvan.
I'm sorry.
They do it from the 7th of Heshvan
The 7th of Cheshvan.
in Israel, and we do it in still
Yeah.
coming up right in December.
Yeah. There's a different. We do it in December, and they in Eretz Yisrael they do it in the 7th. What happens if you went to Eretz Yisrael and then you come back here? You still in your private Shemoneh Esrei, you still continue saying. What do you do if you daven for the Amid? I don't know. You don't daven for the Amid.
I don't know if this is really. How did we come up with December 6th as the time, the day to do it? Is it December 5th?
It has to do with the season, with the tkufa, which would have to do with the sun. You see, the solar calendar is always exactly the same. I mean, I guess it moved a day or two over hundreds of years, but it's what is it? How many days is it? A certain amount of days after the tkufa, after the season, 60 days or something.
And so it's always December 6th.
It's always, yeah, that has to do with the season. So if you get a calendar, for the Zmanim, and it has a January, February, March, you can have one calendar for like 100 years. For the Zmanim, what time is the Zman Kriya Shema and all of that. We get a new calendar every year because we're using the Hebrew months and whatever, and that switches every
Right.
match. The solar calendar is like that. Yeah.
Every 100 years, it changes a day.
Oh, every 100 years?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Before 2000, it was December 4th.
Uh-huh.
Now it's December 5th.
Uh-huh. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I noticed that. But then, and how does December 6th come in? Or it's not?
A leap year.
Oh. Yeah, it's December 6th. My father. Uh-huh.
That's your father.
What happens if you come to America and you're saying Masha Varuach already? You have to daven for the Amid. What would you do? Would you switch?
It's right in the Shulchan Aruch. It says that you use the nusach of where you are.
Oh. Isn't that interesting? You use the nusach of where you are, which makes sense. Everyone would be shouting. If you're davening for the Amid. Yeah. Okay.
If you said Masha Baruch instead of the way that Taanis Daf.
Yeah, if you say Morid Hatal and you missed Masha Varuach, you're still Yaitze. Not the other. But if you don't say Morid Hatal, you see there's a difference between Nusach Ashkenaz over there. Nusach Ashkenaz has to repeat Shemoneh Esrei if they miss Masha Varuach. Yeah, that we mentioned in passing, I think. Okay. Where are we holding? Vanan. Now we have a new question. Vanan disle trei yom hechev dinan. Interesting question, because we're saying that we're starting from Shmini Atzeres. To mention. The halacha was like Rabbi Yehuda, right? We start from Shmini Atzeres. If you don't accept the answer, that there's a difference between Bavel and Eretz Yisrael, the answer is Bisman Shabbos Mikdash Kayim or not Bis Mikdash Kayim. Or if the answer is that we mention and we ask later, so then what about us, Shmini Atzeres? Is Shmini Atzeres really Shmini Atzeres? Or is Shmini Atzeres a suffix Shvi? It's a doubt, right? It could be the 7th day, because we keep the first 2 days just in case. So what do we do? I'm sorry?
I have one more question. The people in Babel did not have to be Ola Regel.
Yeah. How far were they traveling from? Yeah. I'm not sure. I remember that it was until at least the edges of Bavel, the 15 days. That's what I was taught. Now, if that's the case, then how could the Gemara answer that in Eretz Yisrael they had to wait, but in Bavel not? It means in Bavel the people that are returning home are getting wet. Yeah, I don't know. So Amarav, what do we do? What do we do regarding? We have 2 days. We have Shmini Atzeres and Simchas Torah. So Rav says, Maschel b'musafin. The truth is, Shmini Atzeres you start because that's what we said. You're going to start Shmini Atzeres to mention. You're going to say Masha Baruch, Paisik b'mincha arbes v'shachris, and then Shmini Atzeres in the afternoon. You don't say Masha Baruch. You don't say it by Ma'ariv either of Simchas Torah. And you don't say it by Shachris either, Simchas Torah. V'chayzer b'musafin, and then you start again by Musaf. Amalu Shmuel. Shmuel says to them, sounds like the students of Rav ended up in the yeshiva of Shmuel. Shmuel says, Pukav Amr Leila Abba, go out and tell Abba. Abba was Rav's name. He's called Rav. His name was probably Abba. He says, go tell Abba. I'm sorry?
Says Abba here.
Go tell Abba, right? Abba is what Shmuel calls Rav. He says, Achar she'asisu kodesh tasei ochol. His comment is like this: You considered Shmini Atzeres to be Yom Tov, to be the actual day, the 8th day, but now, right away in Mincha, you're already not considering it Yom Tov. You're considering it Hoshana Rabbah because you're stopping. And then you're only going to consider it the following day. Says, how could you do that? Shmuel says what you do is that day Shmini Atzeres is really Shmini Atzeres. So you say Masha Baruch in Musaf and in Mincha. Upaisik arbish v'shachris. And then you stop the following day at night. To me, it seems like it's sort of the same question, but if Shmuel was satisfied with just finishing the day. And then you start again by Musaf. Rava says, Rava says, no, once you start, you don't stop. That's what Rav Sheshes says, once you start, you don't stop. And Rav also retracted. Rav Chananel says the name of Rav. Rav Chananel is not so common as a student of Rav. You know, we have the famous ones, Rav Huna, Rav Gidl, Barashi, I think. Rav Chananel says the name of Rav, Meine Esrim ve'echad yaim kederech shemayna asar yam mirosh Hashanah ad Yom Kippurim u'maschal. Yeah, what appears to be what he's saying is that forget about that it's Shmini Atzeres, is it Yom Tov, is it not? Just count 21 days from Rosh Hashanah and then start. So you're making it all dependent on if it's Yom Tov or not, and Yom Tov is a suffix. Count 21 days from Shmini Atzeres, from Rosh Hashanah, from the beginning of the month. And the 22nd day, which happens to be Shmini Atzeres, that's when you're going to start. He does this interesting comparison, the same way you count from Rosh Hashanah to Yom Kippur. Yeah, it's a little bit unclear what he wants to say with that. The same way you count 10 days from Rosh Hashanah to Yom Kippur, count 21 days, and then start the next day. You have to
count from the first day.
Yeah.
As opposed to the second day.
Yeah, start from the first day. That's how Rashi says. Very good. In the halacha is given sheskel shavena paisek that once you start, you don't stop. That's the halacha. Okay. Yeah, it says like Pringles. Okay. On Masai Shayla Nesageshem, we have a new Mishnah. Until when do you ask for rain? We were talking about mentioning rain and then starting to ask for rain, but now is how long do you ask for rain? Which should be the whole winter, right? Rabbi Yehuda says until Pesach ends, which possibly means the Korban Pesach. We mentioned that could have been a pshat. We had that pshat before, right? Whose pshat was that? Rabbah said that yesterday. Reb Meir Nisan. Reb Meir says until Nisan is over. Shenemar vayered lechem geshem meiro malkash perishan. What happened in the book of Yoel, one of the minor prophets, one of the 12 minor prophets? Over there was a famine for a bunch of years. Was it 4 years or 7 years? The locusts came. It was a famine, it was a drought. And then they planted, and the rain came in Nisan. The first rain came in Nisan, and the crops grew. So it says, "Vayer lechem geshem meiro malkash." They had both rains, the first and the second rain, Berishan in the first month. So therefore, Reb Meir says that don't stop asking for rain, because that's still a time for rain during the month of Nisan. Amalei Reb Nachman le Reb Yitzchak. Reb Nachman says to Reb Yitzchak. I have a few of these in here. Conversations, Reb Nachman and Reb Yitzchak on this stuff. Yair ben Nisan, Yair ben Marcheshvan. Yair means the first rain. It comes down hard, like to shoot. It shoots down. Yeah, they said someone came for a smicha test. They prepared Yeridea.
Really?
And it comes to the rabbi. The rabbi says, "What is Yeru Malkish?" Anyway, he was expecting him to know the translation of Shema, because I think that comes after smicha, you know. So, okay, so 2 types of rain. So, Reb Nachman says to Reb Yitzchak, Yeru comes in Nisan, Yeru comes in Cheshvan. The first rain is in Cheshvan. The Tanan or the Tanya, Yeru b'mar Cheshvan u'malkish b'Nisan. That the first rain is in Cheshvan and the second rain is in Nisan. Amalei hachi am Rabbi Yochanan. Says Rabbi Yochanan explained it like this. It's Rabbi Yitzchak. Rabbi Yitzchak is under Rabbi Yochanan on the chart, I believe. Do you have a chart there? Do you see in the Amoraim of Bavel? The Amoraim of Eretz Yisrael. There's no small name over there. Let me see.
Oh, yeah, Rav Yitzchak. He's just to the left and then the left.
Yeah. He's a student of Rabbi Yochanan. Yeah, there he is. So how is Reb Nachman talking to him? He must have been in Bavel. Reb Nachman is a student of Rav, right? So Hachim Rabbi Yochanan, Bimei Yoel ben Pesuel, Niskayim Mikrazeh. This case was in the days of Yoel, the prophet Yoel. The Ksiv Bey Yeser Hagezem Machala Arbe V'Goymer. What's left over by these locusts, the other locusts will eat. There's all different types of locusts, and they all came in swarms. Whatever one left, the next one finished off. So that year was a drought. Adar came, there was still no rain. Yardalem Revia Rishayna Bechad Benisan, and it rained in the first of Nisan. Amalem Navi Li Yisrael, the prophet tells the Jewish people, Tu Vizaru, go out. You see, the drought's over. Go out and sow the grain in the ground. Very difficult question he has. Should the person that has a measurement of wheat or a measurement of barley, should he eat it and live, or should he sow it in the ground and die? He doesn't have what to eat. So he should eat it. But then what's he going to do later? The prophet says, go and sow it in the ground. Nasalem Nes, a miracle happened. They found what the mice had hidden and what the ants had hidden. That's where it all went. It was in the walls. It was in the like the Saras. They break the house. They find the treasures. So a miracle happened. They found those big. After they had planted, they found all the hiding of the mice.
The squirrels.
Right, with the squirrels. Yeah.
That's fine.
That's what someone told me that. Yeah,
Yeah,
we'll see that. That's going to come up. That's very good. Take the rest of the day off. So someone told me the squirrels don't remember where they hide things. I don't know. It's hard to believe, but the squirrels don't remember. Do you ever hear that? The squirrels, they hide the acorns or whatever, the chestnuts, and they don't actually have a good memory to. Yes, the elephants. Okay. Yatsu Vizaru, they went out and they sowed. Sheni Shlishi Revi. On the second day, the third day, the fourth day, V'yardalem Revi Shnia, the second rain came B'chamisha B'Nisan, on Hey Nisan. Ikrivu Aimer B'Shishasa B'Nisan. By the 16th of Nisan, they had already brought the Aimer. It's 11 days later. Yeah, it sprouted. What was Jack and the Beanstalk? Was that like it sprouted? Was that overnight? Okay. So Nimtzis Tvua Gdela B'Shisha Chadashim Gdela B'Achadas Yom. The grain that was supposed to take 6 months grew in 11 days. Nimtzis Aima Kariv Mitzvah Shel Shisha Chadashim Kariv Mitzvah Shel Achadas Yom. Turned out the grain, the offering that was supposed to come from a grain that grew from 6 months came from a grain that grew in 11 days. And on that generation, it says, Dr. Stein, that when they were planting, they were crying. When they harvested, they were singing. They didn't know if they were going to have food.
Right.
They were crying when they were planting.
Their tears made the plants grow.
Yeah, that's we say it in Shir Malas. He's walking and crying. The one that's holding the measure of seeds. Seems to be repetitive. The one that's planting, the one that's holding the seeds is crying. It's like the same concept twice. Rav Yehuda says, the ox, when it was plowing, it was crying. And on its return, it's already eating the sprouts, the growths from the row. As it's plowing, it's already on its way back. This is that it comes back in singing. My nice Elamaisa, it carries its bundles. Either Rav Chisda or it was a Brisa, that Kana was a Zeres and Shibaylas is a Rasim. Because Zeres is like, is it? A Zeres is from here to here or from here to here, I don't remember. Because does it say what a Zeres is? It's certain measurement. Now, usually the stalk is 3 of these. Oh, it's from thumb to pinky. Yeah. So usually the stalk would be 3 of these. And then the part of the grain, the husk, where the grain is on the shibolas, the top, would be one of them. So it's 1/4. That's usually. Over here, the grain was so large that it was 2 of them, and the stalk only grew 1. Yeah, the sunflowers that they need a stick to hold it up. You know, they put a stick to do the sunflower. So Kana was the Zeres and Shibaylas was the Rasim was 2 of them. You see that over there?
Oh, yeah.
Amalei Rab Nachman le Rab Yitzchak. Another discussion of Nachman and Rab Yitzchak. What's the meaning of the pasuk? Kikar Hashem l'Rav. Hashem called for a famine. V'gamba al aretz sheva shanim. And it will come to the earth for 7 years. This was the prophet telling was it the Shunamis woman that she should take her son that was just revived and she should leave the land because there's going to be a famine, I think, for 7 years. This was in the days of Yehoram ben Achav. She went to the land of the Pelishtim, I think, or something. What did they eat for those 7 years? So Rabbi Yitzchak says, Rabbi Yochanan said the following. The first year they ate storage in the house. Then they were already eating things in the field. Shlishis is basar behema taira. In the third year, they're eating the kosher animals. Revius basar behema tmeya. In the fourth year, they're eating the non-kosher animals. Chamishis basar shkatzim aramasim. In the fifth year, they're already eating the insects.
Wow.
Shishis basar b'neim of v'nesayim. The sixth year, they're eating their children. Shviyas basar zreisayim. In the seventh year, they're already eating their own flesh. Yeah. Yeah, I would like to translate. What's catabolic? What is it called? Catabolic?
Cannibal.
No, not cannibal. That when the body itself starts to take its own fats. What is that called? I think so.
Catabolic.
Yeah, they check. They can check inside the storage in the bones to see how it, like in an autopsy or something. Was there starvation or something? They can see that it was eating its own.
So this was.
Yeah. Anyway, that's not what it means, but.
Yeah, the breakdown of complex molecules.
Yeah, so basar zreisayim, l'kayim hashnemer is basar zroya yoichlu, that they'll eat their own flesh. Amalei Rab Nachman le Rab Yitzchak. Rab Nachman says to Rab Yitzchak, "My diksiv, what's the meaning of the pasuk b'kir b'cha kadosh v'layavei be'ir? In your midst is holiness. I won't come into the city." That's strange. It says mishum de b'kir b'cha kadosh. What is it? Catabolysis. Right. So mishum de b'kir b'cha kadosh layavei be'ir, because there's holiness there. People are behaving well. I'm not going to come into the city. That's what Hashem says. It's something strange. Amalei hachi amar Rabbi Yechanan. Rabbi Yechanan explained it. Amar Kadosh Baruch Hu layavei b'Yerushalayim shel Mailad shavi l'Yerushalayim shel Mata. What it means is, I won't come into my own Yerushalayim. Hashem has his own Yerushalayim. He has an apartment over there in heaven. Rechavia. and until the Jewish people are brought back to Yerushalayim Shel Mata, into our Yerushalayim. So, B'kir b'cha kadosh, when you're brought back into your holiness, until then, until then, I won't come into my city. Yerushalayim l'mayla, is there a heavenly Yerushalayim? There's that whole set of books, the heavenly city. Remember those stories? The Gemara says yes, there is. The Ksiv, Yerushalayim habenuya kirshacha b'lo yachtav. The built up Yerushalayim, like a city that's chubras, like composed together. Now, what does that mean? It's like the city. The Yerushalayim that's built down here is like the city that's built above.
Is that why it's Yerushalayim, like in the plural?
Oh, interesting. Maybe that's the pshat, why it's usually spelt without a yud in the Torah. Yerushalayim. And then, isn't that interesting?
What did he come?
He said maybe it's Yerushalayim is a plural. And in the Torah, it's actually missing a yud usually, except in one place. I think in Esther, it has a yud.
I think it's for the two Yerushalayim. Yerushalayim of Chutz La'aretz, which is Miami.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Oh, is it
They used to say it was Muncie, but okay, I hear you. Okay.
the Yerushalayim for the future stored up in the base of Mikdash.
Yeah, it says that it will come down. We had that in the Gemara, because when we asked how could the base of Mikdash come on Yom Tov on Pesach, remember by the decree of Rabbi Yechon ben Zakkai about the Omer, we said that the base of Mikdash was going to be built in between the 15th and the 16th. We said that's impossible. It's Yom Tov and all of. They said no. When it comes from heaven, it can come down.
That's left in heaven. It's like the upper part of the lid.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Amalei Rab Nachman le Rab Yitzchak. Another conversation. Rab Nachman with Rab Yitzchak. My diksiv uba'achas yivaru v'yikselu musar havala meitzu. Everyone yivaru sound is like the fools, the stupid. Yikselu is the foolish. Musar havala meitzu. The the vein musar, it's just wood. Amalei Hachayam Rabbi Yochanan. So Rabbi Nachman's asking, what does that pasuk mean? Says Rabbi Yochanan explained, Achasi shema va'eres rishoyim begehenim. He translates it a little different. He says there's one thing that destroys mevaeres instead of a bar, which is a fool. Mevaeres, it destroys. There's one thing that destroys the wicked in Gehenna. Mahi, what is that? Avodah Zarah. It's the sin of Avodah Zarah. That's the big one. Ksiv hacha, over here it says Musar havalam eitzu. It's the admonishment of vanity. It's wood. Ksiv hasam, over there it says Hevel hema maisei tatuim. It's all vanity. It's the work of delusion. That's the referring to Avodah Zarah. So we're learning that the word Hevel is Avodah Zarah. Rab Nachman has another conversation with Rabbi Yitzchak. There's two things that my nation did. It says Tartinu. There's only two things. Esrim va'arba shviklu. They didn't do Hudahavu Esrim va'arba shviklu. They didn't fulfill the 24 books. Or they did 24 different averos. There's different pshatim over here what this means. The 24 books of the Tanakh.
Violations.
There's either 24 violations, right? Or it could be that they violated the 24 svarim, which is the number of the books in the Tanakh.
Oh, no.
So Amalei Hachim Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan said like this: Achashi shkula kishtayim. There's one thing that's equivalent to two. Yeah. So Maini Avodah Zarah, it's Avodah Zarah.
What does that mean?
It's equivalent to two. We'll see in a second. It sounds like this guy is like upset. He's like, there's two people. It's not a rabbinical joke. It's two people that I really want to punch, and you're both of them. So it sounds like there's two sins, and that one is both of them. It's Avodah Zarah is both of them. Yeah. So that's actually what's going on over here. That's Avodah Zarah is both of them. It says the Ksiv. There's two things that my nation did. They forsook me, right? If that's a word. The source of living water. And they dug for themselves broken wells. So Hashem is the source of the living water. And what did they do to replace that? Broken wells. So that's two things that we did wrong. We gave up on Hashem. We abandoned Hashem. And then what did we take instead? It was, trash. And it also says, Ki avru iyi kitim vero v'kedar shalchu v'spainanu ma'id v'gaimer. You pass by the islands of the Kitim and you see, and Kedar, they were sent and meditate much. Hahemer gayalikim, vehema layalikim, va'ami hemer kvoidai b'layayal. You see, let's take a look. The Gemara is going to explain what this pasuk means. But basically, those two nations did not give up on their God, even though it wasn't worthwhile. But my nation does give up on God. It does abandon God. Tana was taught in a brisa, Kutim oivdim la'esh. The Kutim, or Kutim, they worshipped fire. The Kedarim oivdim lamayim. And the Kedar, they worshipped water. Even though they know that the water puts out the fire. So, they're not all powerful. But leihimiru alehayim. They didn't give up on their gods. They still keep worshiping them. But my nation, the Jewish people, gave up on Hashem. That's what the prophet was saying. And they did it for naught. There's another conversation. Rab Nachman says to Rabbi Yitzchak, what's the meaning of the pasuk? It was when Shmuel got old. Misiv Shmuel kulei. Was Shmuel actually old? But Bar Nun Beis Havi, he wasn't even able to retire. He's only 52. Damar Mar, because the master taught, we have a brisa. If someone dies 52, that's the death of Shmuel. So what does it mean Shmuel got old? Amalei Hachim Rabbi Yochanan. So Rabbi Yitzchak says, Rabbi Yochanan explained it like this. Zikna kaftzalav. He became old young. Yeah, we have this thing that Shmuel was a Gilgal, was Niskalgal into Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. Remember that? Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah was 18. And he says, behold, I'm like 70. That was 18 plus the 52 of Shmuel. Yeah, so Shmuel gets old, the Ksiv, Nichamti kim lachti yashol. He says, I regret that it was Nichamti. Nichamti is Hashem talking or Shmuel talking? I regret Hashem talking. Could be. I regret that I appointed Shaul as a king. Amalafan of Rabbeinu Shalom. Shmuel says, Shekaltani k'Moshe Aaron. You made me equivalent to Moshe and Aaron. The Ksiv Moshe Aaron b'chayin of Shmuel b'kar Shemai. Moshe and Aaron is priest, and Shmuel, that call his name. That means I'm equivalent to Moshe and Aaron. And now, if that's the case, then Ma Moshe Aaron, just as Moshe Aaron, lay batal Ma'aseh Yudayim b'chayayim, their disciple did not die while they were alive. Who's the disciple? That's Yeshua. My disciple also should be able to live. If I'm equivalent to Moshe and Aaron, who's my disciple? Is Shmuel's talking? It's Shaul. Don't kill Shaul.
David also eventually, no?
Then it becomes David, right? So Amar Kadosh Baruch Hu Hechi Avid. Hashem says, so what do you want from me? How am I supposed to do this? I'm in a fix. Lima Shaul like a Shavik Shmuel. To kill Shaul, Shmuel doesn't let. Lima Shmuel Adazuter. So what's the solution? Shmuel will die young, and then Shaul will die after him. So Marani Abasrei, if Shmuel dies young, people are going to say he died because of his sins. So Leili Mishov, Leili Mishmuel. So okay, so let everyone live. So Kvargia Malchus David, but it's already time for David to rule, and we have a rule: Bein Malchus Nagas Bechaverta Fil Kumlei Nima. Not one kingdom cannot enter into another one, even a hair's breadth. So Amar Kadosh Baruch Hu Akbitzalav Zikna. So Hashem says, I'll cause Shmuel to age. And then when he passes away, it'll be because everyone understood that he was old. That's the meaning of the pasuk. V'Shaul Yoshev beGiva, Tachas Ha'eshel berama. Shaul was sitting in Giva under the tree in Ramah. Now the Gemara says, V'chimani Giva Eitzel Ramah. What's the connection Giva and Ramah? Giva is in the territory of Binyamin. Ramah is in the territory of Ephraim. What's the connection? He's sitting in Giva under a tree in Ramah. Really what it means is what allowed Shaul to live for 2.5 years? He was king for 2.5 years, I think. What allowed him to survive those 2.5 years? Tfilasi shel Shmuel Haramasi. It was the prayer of Shmuel that Haramasi that was in Ramah. It was Shmuel's davening that caused him to live those extra 2.5 years while Shmuel was aging. Okay. Is that how it works? That we push one person off because of another person's coming in? Amalayan or in? Yes. Shmuel bar Nachmani, it's usually Rabbi Yonasan. Shmuel bar Nachmani, Amar Rabbi Yonasan, my deksiv, al kein chatzavti benaviyim aragtim b'mrei. I've hewn out of the prophets, I've killed by the word of my mouth. The Maseim le'nemar doesn't say because of their actions. Ela b'mrei, by the word of my mouth. Alma midchi gavra mikami gavra. That means that one person gets pushed away because of another person.
So Shmuel died young. I thought it said that it would cause some controversy.
Yeah. So first what he did was he made him get older. And then when he passed away, it was already because he had aged. So so he aged young. It was, yeah, it's similar to Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. There's another comparison here. Yeah, especially the Rambam's interpretation of Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah is that he worked so hard in those 18 years that he was as if he was 70. Yeah. He put in 3 days of work every day. Yeah, he didn't have a 40-hour work week. He had a 120-hour work week.
Who is the one that turned white overnight?
Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. Yeah. Okay, should we go a little further? Let's leave it over here. Let's leave it over here for today. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Very good. Shkoyach.
Good day.
Thank you.
Have a good.